Kiteboarding Grand Slam in China. Alinghi wins again in Madeira. Junior Surf Worlds celebrate new Olympic quest for Tokyo 2020. And now in the newsroom, here's Jerome Alinghi. NC Sports, plunge into the action.
Welcome to NC Sports. I'm Jerome Alinghi. China, Portugal, Spain, France, the UK. We've got yet another sensational water sports tour for you today, plus special guests and top events. So here's the lineup. Top riders meet at the Pingtang Kiteboarding Grand Slam for wave, big air, and twin tip racing. Now also officially included to the 2018 Youth Olympics in Argentina. The Duel and the Crash. Alinghi takes Madeira, but Oman Air holds on to the overall lead at the Extreme Sailing Series. The insight and the analysis. Mark Jardine, managing editor at yachtsandyachting.com, links up with the newsroom. Then, Team Russians dominates the UIM F1h20 Nations Cup in Shanghai. Wins again on the GC32s in Sotogrande, while Kitmoller delivers a scoreless PWA Cold Hawaii. Plus, full results from the ISA Junior World Championship in the Azores for the future champs of Tokyo 2020. And the Foiling Week flies in Newport, USA. Well, you've heard it. China has been at the heart of the water sports action, and the pros battle it out at the Pingtang Grand Slam for round 3 of the IKA-sanctioned WKL World Championship. And Haitan Bay delivered big time with pumping wind and wave conditions. Full-on action next on today's top story. With the $50,000 US up for grabs in wave and big air, pro riders met in Pingtang for the Kiteboarding Grand Slam. A fight to the 100th of a point crowned Pedro Matos over Felipe Ferreira in the All Brazilian Men's Wave Performance Final, 14.47 to 14.43. And it was all samba with Sebastián Ribeiro completing the green and gold podium. Greater North of the UK topped men's big air ahead of Germany's Hoppe and Martinez of the Dominican Republic, while Bibiana Magaji from Slovakia held back Portugal's Inés Correia on the women's court. Jingle Chen secured the third for China. The twin tip racing class also had a go at this third round of the IKA Kiteboarding World Championships in China, fresh on the news of the official inclusion of kiteboarding to the 2018 Youth Olympics in Argentina. Well, of course, now that surfing already made it for Tokyo, we all look forward to the inclusion of kiteboarding in the Olympics, hopefully by 2024. Let's talk sailing now, and joining us today for a chat on NC Sport is Mark Jardine, managing editor at Yachts and Yachting and sailworld.com. Hello, Mark, and welcome to the program.
Hello, thank you for having me on the show.
Now, well, speaking of the Olympics, an extraordinary result for Team GBR on the total medal count in Rio, but specifically for sailing, you guys topped the roster with 2 golds. What is the secret?
I think there's a huge amount of continuity in the British sailing team. If you look in the Finn class, you've got Ian Percy, then Ben Ainsley, then Giles Scott, and the knowledge that they've handed down from one to the other has really put the sailors in good stead. And if you look at the 470s, Han and Sass, it was their second cycle of the Olympics, and they turned their silver in London 2012 into a gold with a day to spare. Once again, the British sailing team leaves no stone unturned. They are working behind the scenes tirelessly to make sure that the sailors are as prepared as possible. It could have been a better result, I think. Nick Thompson, for example, with 2 laser World Championship titles behind him, he could have easily had a better event.
And now, Mark, there's more British sailing success now in the making at the America's Cup World Series. It looks like Sir Ben Land's Rover Bar, now in the overall lead, has got a really good chance to win that title. What's your take on that?
14 points going into the final event in Japan is a great advantage to have. The World Series is proving a good one for Land Rover BAR, and I think they've got every chance of winning the series. When it comes to the America's Cup itself, my biggest worry is the lack of time they're spending in Bermuda. All of their training is currently done in the Solent. I think it's superb training, and I think they are working up very, very well technologically. They've got superb sailors, but I think the Bermuda waters and the advantage that Oracle and SoftBank Team Japan and Artemis, the time that they're spending out there, could well be a problem for Land Rover BAR.
So hashtag bring the cup home. I mean, there's good chances. Can we say that this is possibly the best Team GBR with the best chances to date?
That is without doubt. The finance that's gone into it, the sailors that are involved in the campaign, and also everybody behind the scenes. This is by far the most professional outfit that has approached the America's Cup from Britain.
Now, Mark, let's take a look at another circuit here with a recap of Act 6 at the Extreme Sailing Series just concluded in Madeira, including a spectacular collision there with Alinghi and Red Bull. And then when we come back, we'll chat some more. Team Alinghi put on an unbelievable comeback on the Atlantic waters of Madeira Island. On Saturday's Race 8, a high-speed crash with the Austrians on Red Bull resulted in a dismast for the Swiss team and a total of 5 key races spent in the pit stops. But with some phenomenal overnight work by the shore crew and by the sailors who nailed the last 2 wins on Sunday, including the double-point final, Team Alinghi managed what appeared to be the impossible. Arnaud Sarofagis is on a roll.
Yeah, we're looking for the next act and to come back on Oman Air, and we're gonna all play that in Sydney on the last race.
Still holding on to first overall by a narrow 3-point lead on Alinghi and now just 5 on Red Bull, Team Oman Air struggled in the variable wind conditions.
Those little things we learned from Alinghi, we learned from Red Bull, we learned from a lot of the teams that had little areas they were doing better than us. And you know, for us going forward, 2 more events, we're going to have some light air sailing like this, and we need to take those lessons that we learned and apply them.
Pushing back Morgan Larson's Oman Air for a second place here, Roman Vergara has now turned this into a 3-way fight for the 2016 Extreme Sailing Series title, to be continued in Lisbon.
Actually, we are looking really forward for the next event because we know we can beat them. We can beat Alinghi and Oman Air. We have done both now, and I think it's a great battle between us 3. And yeah, I hope it's the other way around than in Lisbon.
So, Mark, as we've seen, we've got ourselves a real duel on our hands between Alinghi and Oman Air. What's your forecast on the Extreme Sailing Series? Just a couple events to go. Looks like they're going to battle it out until the end.
It was an extraordinary comeback by Alinghi after losing their mast, and to then go on to win the event in the final meters was superb. I feel they've got quite a bit of momentum behind them. Oman Air are, of course, in the driving seat, but Alinghi and Oman, it's going to be such a battle going into the last 2 events. It's going to be great to watch.
Absolutely.
The thing I don't understand about the Extreme Sailing Series and the GC32 series is you've got 2 series, identical boats with 7 on each start line. Why can't they just be combined? We had 2 events going on at exactly the same time. One, the Sotogrande Cup, and one out in Madeira. Why weren't they just sailing together?
I agree with you perfectly. I think that there's a nexus in offer here and possibly a little bit of provincialism and a little bit too much self-interest. It doesn't make sense to have 2 different leagues with the same boats and the same kind of quality teams. I guess that leads me to my next question in a way. You think this team Alinghi is America's Cup ready?
I think they could step back up to the America's Cup. They've got the experience. They've done it before. They know what an America's Cup campaign takes. I think they've got it on the back burner at any point if they see an opening, an opportunity that means that they like where the America's Cup is going and it'll suit them. They'll be straight back into it.
Complete agreement on that one. I think at this point it's just political. Listen, Mark, we'll stop briefly with some more news, then we'll be back for part 2 and chat some more sailing. Team Russians wins Shanghai at the F1h20 Nations Cup. Franck Camas seals 3 out of 4 on the GC32s in Sotogrande. And the Cold Hawaii was also winless in Kitmoller. You can check it all out on the NC Sports Briefs.
Team Russia made it 2 in a row as they successfully defended their crown at the 2016 UIM H2O Nations Cup on Deshui Lake in Shanghai. Drivers Roman Vandyshev and Andrei Panyushkin led the race from the start to finish with an overall haul of 120 points. After an intense battle for the second spot on the podium, duo Jay Price and Scott Gilman of Team USA squeaked past former champions Rashid Al-Khamzi and Rashid Al-Tayer of Team UAE by a single point, finishing with 199 points respectively. New entry Team Austria ended their first season with a respectable 4th place finish.
With Adam Minoprio on helm, Franck Camas' Norauto team has made it to 3 out of 4 in Sotogrande for the penultimate event of the GC32 Racing Tour. Taking off with 7 straight wins out of 9 races completed in Spain, the French team left no room to pursuers of Team Tilt and compatriots on Alinghi, respectively 2nd and 3rd. Having virtually secured the 2016 title on this tour, Franck Camas has now announced the first GC32 crossover, with Team Norauto now also joining the Extreme Sailing Series for Act 7 in Lisbon.
After 6 days of waiting and wondering, the 2016 PWA Cold Hawaii came to a close in Kitmoller, Denmark, with the world's elite windsurfers left high and dry. Uncooperative weather allowed for only 1 day of racing as round 3 of the 6-round season ended in a no-resulter. Thus, the leaderboard remains unchanged, with Spain's Victor Fernandez sitting comfortably atop the podium after 2 consecutive wins in Gran Canaria and Tenerife. Reigning champ Philipp Koster from Germany, currently out with a knee injury, holds the number 2 spot, with Alex Mussolini, also from Spain, putting on the pressure in 3rd.
We're back with Mark Jardine, managing editor at yachtsandyachting.com and sailworld.com. So, Mark, the Vendée Globe is about to start, and all British hopes are set on Alex Thompson and his newly revisioned foiling Hugo Boss. A top-notch campaign, but can he take on all these Frenchmen?
I think the key thing with Alex is going to be keeping the boat together. The foilers have been causing problems both sides of the English Channel, and Alex just recently broke one of his side foils. It's going to be a case of if he can keep the boat together, if he can sail it conservatively at the times when he needs to, and then push it hard at the times when he needs to, then he's in with a shout. But Alex in the past, he's got the bit between his teeth and he's gone far too often just straight off trying to win from the beginning. It's a long race. You've got to just try and conserve your boat, keep it together, and that's what wins the Vendée Globe.
Okay, now I completely agree on that one. He does have a history of casse-bateau, as the French say. But with the event of foiling, we are seeing an unprecedented development in the sport, with speed sort of becoming the common denominator. But you, Mark, you're in the front line of grassroots sailing, following a number of events. There's plenty of classes and just people that want to sail. Do you see the sport growing at this point?
Well, in the Moths, for example, we had 73 foilers down at Weymouth for the Nationals, where I did the coverage, and the technology involved is superb. But it's the grassroots sport which is the lifeblood. The solo championships, for example, also had around 70 boats. One of the areas we are seeing growth is club racing, and weekends, people's time is often taken up with their family and other pastimes. A lot of club racing can take part at clubs during the evenings, and that's proving extremely popular. Travelling is becoming more expensive to get to events, and we have to nurture these club events and show other clubs just how easy it is to hold series during weekday evenings. The grassroots of the sport is where we must see growth. Also, other areas, looking at things like the Vendée Globe, is adventure sailing. If you look at the Fastnet, the entry for that is taken up straight away and it goes straight to its entry limit. It's areas where people get to go somewhere. That's where we need to nurture the growth and make sure that people have the opportunities to sail in a way that suits with them.
Okay, and I see that with your websites, you're doing a lot of that. Your coverage focuses almost equally between an America's Cup and, let's say, a British National or even a club race. That's a very specific strategy and, if you wish, choice.
Very much so. We decided a long time ago that we should hardly distinguish between the smallest event, which may have 5 enterprise dinghies sailing on a small reservoir, and the America's Cup. We should give equal coverage to them all. As we were saying, the grassroots is the lifeblood of the sport, yet of course the America's Cup is what's the showpiece. If we were only going to cover the America's Cup, we'd be doing no different from mainstream media outside of sailing, and so we wouldn't have the audience that we have today.
Well, Mark, I thank you very much for the insight today, and really hope to see you soon back on the show so we can chat some more. This has been very interesting.
That'd be fantastic. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mike. Team France turned out to be the big surprise at the ISA Surfing Junior World Championships last week in the Azores, pushing back strong Aussie and Hawaiian teams. A battle for the world title that also became a celebration of surfing's new Olympic status. Claudia Casagrande has this report.
The 2016 Visla ISA World Junior Surfing Championships wrapped up in the Azores of Portugal, with Team France grabbing their first ever ISA gold medal in an historic podium that marked the ISA's official entry into the Olympic era. Australia took the silver and Hawaii took the bronze. A record 371 contenders from 39 countries took part in this year's gathering of surfing's top young talent. That was also a celebration of the sport's official inclusion in the 2020 Games in Tokyo. In the individual competitions, Brazil's Wesley Dantas shone in the boys under 18 and Hawaiian Brissa Hennessy triumphed in the girls under 18. While Austrian Kius King placed first in the boys under 16 and American Caroline Marks topped the podium in the girls under 16. ISA President Fernando Aguirre, a key figure in the campaign for IOC recognition, was on hand to congratulate the winners as they set off on the road to Tokyo.
Now, following yet another season opener on Italy's Lake Garda last July, the Foiling Week celebrated its third calendar year by moving to Newport, Rhode Island this September for another highly successful flying bash. Featuring regattas, boat tests, and forums on this new art, the debut captured the hearts and minds of the American sailing community. It was a time for some fast flying in Narragansett Bay as the American sailing tribes came in numbers to Newport, Rhode Island for the Foiling Week. After Lake Garda last summer, sailing's innovative think tank event is spreading the word on both sides of the Atlantic. The show was guaranteed with the A-class catamarans, the Moths, Phantoms, S9, NACRA 20 FCS, UFO, WASP, and several protos on the water, mixing class racing and speed testing. But in this evolving revolution of the sport, practice is paired with theory. For the first time this year at the Foiling Week Newport, North American engineers, designers, manufacturers, and homegrown developers got a chance to compare their notes and the tech. To close the 2016 season, the Foiling Week Awards will be held in Milan, Italy on October 24th. Shirahama, Japan, and Marseille, France, and the Oahu in Hawaii. Save the dates. It's all part of the World Tour. Next on the NC Sports Calendar.
The Cliff Diving World Series moves to Shirahama, Japan for the penultimate stop of the 2016 season on October 8th. Diving takes place from Sandenbeck Cliff, towering 28 meters above an area of the South Pacific known for its black currents. With only 2 rounds left to go, Britain's Gary Hunt holds a comfy advantage in the men's camp, while young Aussie rookie Rhiannon Ifland leads in the ladies, hounded by Canadian Lizanne Richard. The final showdown of the 2016 SUP World Series will take place in Maui from October 14th to 16th. Denmark's Kasper Steinfath holds the #1 spot in the men's division, with Connor Baxter from Hawaii hot on his heels, and Frenchman Arthur Arutkin trailing a distant third. In the ladies' camp, American Fiona Wilde will be hard to catch, but the battle for second between Aussie Angela Jackson and Sonny Honscheid from Germany looks set to explode. The 2016 GC32 Racing Tour is gearing up for the grand finale in Marseille, France from October 13th to 19th. Going into the final battle, Norauto, skippered by Volvo Ocean Race winner Frank Kama, tops the leaderboard with 5 points, chased by Sweden's Team Tilt with 8 and Armin Strom with 15.
That's all for today, but we'll be back next week with more top events, insight, and analysis. Because the water sports season just won't quit. We'll leave you now with some top shots just in from the WSL Kite Skies Pro. Now ongoing, will Tyler Wright hang on to the overall lead? That is the question. This is Jenna Alinghi, and remember, plunge into the action with NC Sports.